Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, dear colleagues, I'm happy to talk to you today about the multi-professional collaboration for the best support for patients. Just looking from the side of the oncology pharmacist. Just to know what oncology pharmacy is and where it comes from, just to give you an impression about our approach and our goals, it's just in the year 2006 we signed all with 28 countries a declaration of Ljubljana in which we have practiced the multi-professional approach to best deliver support to patient within a clinical governance framework. And based on this, we had to understand why oncology pharmacy is growing into this multi-professional team. We know that surgery since more than 1,000 of years has been practiced in cancer treatment as well. We know about radiotherapy, but we see that finally the time for the internal therapy related to cytotoxic drugs occurred nearly, 60, 50 years ago. And more and more the question of the good treatment with cytotoxic drugs and more development in this area were growing as well. The intaking of knowledge from nurses and finally from pharmacists in this area. So what oncology pharmacists have to look for, they have, two faces like Janus. From the one hand side is a practical pharmaceutical point of view, and from the other side it's the clinical point of view when they want to support the demands of physicians the best. For sure, when they have chance to talk with patients, they know how patients are. Patients are today updated with news, not only from journals and what we say yellow press, but also the yellow press and the internet. And often there's a discussion about the best treatment in the world, and a second opinion is necessary. Therefore, we have made a questionnaire with around about 5,000 cancer patients and to ask them what they would like to get as information. And they said, okay, from pharmacists, 60% of them liked to get more additional information about the drugs and the related effects. And as well, when you look for this, it's not the cytotoxic drug himself and the supportive drugs would have to be given, but also besides self-medication, the question of alternative drugs. And a lot of misinformation is running so in this around the world, and it's necessary to have a professional education by scientists. We started in the year 2000 when we founded our society. It's now this 20th anniversary year, and COVID has brought a little bit different movement in this year to us, because the idea was to have a presentation in all our member countries. So as well, you know, besides all these countries, there are single countries with a small number of members, and there are several countries with a huge group, so that around about now more than 3,500 members have to be counted, and they come from 63 member countries. Here on the map you can see the countries where the colleagues come from. They exchange with us and talk with us about the future of better oncology. And when you look at this, you see that we have some activities, and I just want to talk with you about these activities on 3 examples, and as well to give a view for the future. But before I start with this, I just want to communicate with you that we have made a questionnaire about the influence of COVID to the treatment of cancer patients as well. the way how safe people engaged in healthcare have been able to save their lives as well. And this questionnaire was offered to the audience 12 weeks. In each week they were answering, and you see the countries from where these answers came, and have been collected on our homepage and can be reviewed by everybody who likes to do it. It's open source. Coming back to the three activities we have in place. The one is the adherence of our cancer drugs. The other is the drug shortage in the world, and finally safety, not only for pharmacists but also for nurses and doctors. When we look at the first point, we see that non-adherence affects events have an influence to the outcome of a treatment. This publication from Gansena is showing the non-adherence in imatinib, and adversely affects events free from survival in chronic phase chronic myeloma patient. So when you see that the non-adherence was shorten the life of a lot of patients as well. So the question is, what can we do to better the adherence of oral cancer drugs? And at first we have to look what kind of paradigm change is brought into our scientific life. And when you see on the left side, the IV cancer therapy is quite easy. The diagnosis is done and the prescription is delivered in many countries to the pharmacist who is preparing the cytotoxic drugs, but also when we see it's done in several countries as well from nurses. And then the delivery comes to the doctors and the nurses themselves, and they manage the IV treatment, and you can be sure nearly 100% of adherence is given. But it's different with the oral cancer therapy. There you see is a prescription after diagnosis. The prescription went to a place where oral drugs are delivered, and these oral drugs have been handed out to the patient, and he's going at home and has to take day by day in the right time, in the right matter, this drug to be sure that he can battle the cancer best. We see that there are a lot of publications in the world. I have only put some of them in the screen, and you see that there is a lot of, what should I say, reasons for the non-adherence. Reasons like side effects of medication were not accepted by patients, and they don't follow the rules, missing appointments when they travel or whatever. Then often also when you have countries where the cost of medication have to be buried by the patient themselves, they are not able to pay this. So there are different reasons for the non-adherence, and therefore we have developed a database. This database is online in the internet and is in several languages available. And we are asking for collaboration in many other countries. That gives this database is supporting the consulting of patient. It's offering done information for the patient himself, and you can give the patient an administration schedule, on which schedule you can see the time and the way to take the drug. As well, you have the chance as patient to mark your well-being and as well side effects. And when you see this example, that's what we say to patients when you have 2 days where you feel bad. Finally, you should come back to the pharmacy or to those who have handed over the drugs to you and talk with them if you have done it in the right way. And if everything was right, then something is wrong with the medicament and you in relationship. So it should be reviewed by the prescribing doctor quickly. And this research was supported by the European Commission. It's named the EPIC project. That was empowering pharmacists to improve health care for oral chemotherapy patients. And we wanted to install a European best practice model, and this was in relationship to Estonia and to Slovenia, which countries have also similar conditions that only community pharmacy are delivering oral drugs to patients, and these community pharmacies are not so much well educated as specialized pharmacies and hospitals like it is in Poland or Belgium, where the drugs have been delivered directly to the patients in the hospital himself. That means, based on this, we have also developed a training program what gives a chance to those who have then to look after the best way for the support of patient, how what kind of things they have to think about, and what kind of activities they can rely on. As well, to the second point, our action against the drug shortage for, you can say, affordability, availability, or whatever. So that means when you look at the market, a small number of drugs make the big sum of income for the companies, and this is what they are related on. But what is the problem for the community and for the state? That's that sometimes the costs are so high that there must be thought about what to do to save money for the treatment of all patients who are not only in these circumstances. And this is a publication that the New York State became the first public payer in the US to authorize limited of prescription. As well, when you look at Germany, it's like this, that the companies are allowed to make their price in the first year without any influence, but then they have to deliver outcome data for the outcome of patient as well. Then the discussion about the drug-related costs are accruing, and the price will be much more decreased. When we are talking about also deliverance, not only the high-costly drugs, when we look for the drugs who have to be there for the general treatment, and there's a list of essential medicine from the WHO, and we have asked our memberships countries, what about the list of these drugs? Is a use of this list of drugs in your countries? And you see a lot of them, more than 50% say no. We are not counting on this list of this 200 around about 200 essential drugs. As well, more of them have also then told us that these drugs are not available in their country. And these are not drugs who are expensive. So that's why we did a survey in 20 countries and have asked, is there any impact of drug shortage in your practice? And you see, around about 96% have been affected by it. Some rarely, but a lot of them always and frequently. That means what will doctors do, and pharmacists who have to deliver the drugs to the doctors, what will they do in this moment, and what kind of opportunities they have? And you see the switch of regimens is one of it, and the reduce of dosage. When you have probably a treatment of Folfox or Folfiri where it's included 5-FU, probably, and you cannot exchange and replace 5-FU by some other drug, what is possible sometimes in the treatment of antibiotics with patients. But then there was a use of to go to oral 5-FU drugs. But we know that the side effects of 5-FU oral drugs are much more higher, related to foot-hand syndrome and other issues. And as well, it's not listed as protocol, what can be then seen and reviewed in a similar treatment as well. And therefore, we were looking what kind of drugs came into the shortage mainly. And you see doxorubicin, 5-FU, carboplatin, cisplatin, methotrexate, and etoposide were on the market since more than 30 years, and they come under shortage. And this is unbelievable. And we are not accepting this issue. That's why we say we have to fight with this in the European Union. The countries in our member countries from the European Union have been delivered information requests to the parliament, and now they have decided to bring back the production of the essential cytotoxic drugs to Europe himself, and not being delivered from far away from countries from the other part of the world. As well, ESMO, the European Society for Medical Oncology, is looking at this and saying that the availability for many medication is not only related to the non-deliverance, but also then on the low, medium, low-income countries in opportunity to be able to deliver these drugs for all of patients who should be treated. Coming to the third point of our work is the European project for contamination research. The name is MASHA, it's research about environmental contamination by cytotoxics and management of safe handling procedures. And that's the main issue. We think that the safe handling of procedures, the procedure of safe handling is one of the main issues. When we look to the circumstances under them we are working, you see here a research what is done by the University of Heidelberg. They have researched 4 different manufacturers with suppliers who have delivered them in a infusion bag. So no drugs included, only an infusion bag, and they have looked on the outside of the cartons, if they were crushed or not. They looked inside the cartons. They wrapped then after wiping disinfection with ethanol 70%, as well these bags after finishing under the LAF as a air hood, and the air hood was tested for contamination priority as well. And you see these 4 producers have different conditions for the outside contamination with bacteroids, and you see one of them really was contaminated up to that the infusion bag was unpacked, was as well influenced by bacteroids. So you see the deliverance of these drugs to the wards just directly from producers, and so have to be handled carefully as well. Pharmacies who are producing then cytotoxics have to do that. When we look then to the cytotoxic drugs themselves, the contamination, we have done the first research with these different hospitals and hospital pharmacies from different countries, from them, and we have then looked in the pharmacy himself for, this is an example, we have tested 8 different drugs, but this was gemcitabine, and this gemcitabine concentration of nanogram per square centimeters. And we were looking for the isolators or laminar air hoods. We were looking for the floor, for the checking counter, for storage room, and for the refrigerator. And you see that we have been able to find more than 0.01 contamination in several areas, as well a high concentration in the air hood, and as well in the checking counters in some hospitals. When we look at the ward, when these prepared drugs and are delivered, and they have been handled by nurses or doctors to the patient, you see that mainly on the floor, armchairs, you see that contamination is high. That means that the way how the administration and de-administration of the drugs is done brings also opportunity for those who are handling their, like nurses and doctors, being contaminated by the cytotoxics as well. They have no expectation about that. After the first research, we have installed then in the second time a training program, how to handle cytotoxic drugs, how to handle these cytotoxic drugs when they have been delivered, and how to clean the area the working area, and you see that there's a decrease in the third part about a high number of non-contamination is growing. That means that the procedures have been excellent. When we look to other circumstances, like this example, when we see cyclophosphamide, 5-FU, or gemcitabine have been researched in this area, and we have split them in 3 groups. One group was the furniture, and the room himself has been younger than 4 years. Then we have looked for those who have been between 4 and 10 years, and we have looked for elderly hospital pharmacies who have been furniture and room issues than 10 years. And you see that there's a big relationship between the age of the furniture and the room, as well with the contamination we have found. That means that not only the momental bad circumstances in working and non-reflection about possible contamination have to be brought into our mind, but also the cleaning on long-term cleaning for the environmental circumstances. When we look at the different drugs, we see that also there are different issues being in use. So mostly spikes, but as well needles and closed systems. So named closed systems. And we know that there's a discussion about that closed systems would be helpful and would deliver a good safe circumstance, but they have been all of them, mostly 99% of this research has been done between companies who are delivering closed systems with needles. So that's like when you reflect about the different issue about peaches and apples, and therefore it's better to go to look for similarity. And the similarity is when you lose spikes and closed system, they are not so different, only the price makes a difference. And you see that the handling of spikes is much more easier as these systems, as well the outcome of this is better than when you see the contamination between those both on the benches and isolators, as well on the surfaces in the pharmacy themselves. You see that there is no evidence for the use of closed systems when you have a structured education and procedures plan. So that means that after that, contamination is still recognized, but at different levels in different hospitals, and therefore we have to work for similarity in education as well, for similarity in procedures. And therefore we can offer one thing, it's the handling procedures of the quality standard. I will talk some words later on about this, what we have installed since 1996, and as well that we have started a long-term research with ESMO 2 years ago, and we will deliver this year results where we have only reflected to the circumstance for medical staff, doctors and nurses at the wards. Yeah, so we are working hardly to improve, and we want to have a goal. And this goal is written down in our hashtag ESOP 365 plan. This plan shows not that every pharmacist is working every day in the year, but we as a community are ready to support cancer patients and medical staff as well, wherever we are. And these are the points we have to be discussed. Two of them have touched in this moment. Will come later on to one of the other one. That's probably downwritten in our high standard of oncology pharmacy in practice and research. You can download this 4 pages where we have downwritten the 9 important topics in your country language. It's available on our homepage to be printed out and be delivered to everybody who wants to read about that, what pharmacy is able to do. And as well, we are looking about the outcome, and we are talking about the outcome with the medical team. And I just want to show you an example in the treatment of probably colorectal cancer. And when we look for the mortality rate versus the spend in organization for economic cooperation. And you see this 5 years percentage of 5 years overall survival and related to spending 1,000 euros per this one treatment. You see in this page, you see we have a similar outcome but different, and in this way also 20%, 20-fold without clear evidence of benefit. You have countries like Germany, they spend around about 30,000, but you have France 60,000, and also Finland in this case has over 170,000 euros spent for this same outcome. As well, when you look for the absolute survival varieties, there's more than 9% for this, that you have the same spending when you see between UK and when you see Australia, and you have a different survival rate and percentage. That means that on the one hand side you have to look for the prices, on the other hand side you have to look for the best plan of outcome and relationship in multi-professional team. As well, the healthcare spendings in the States has an influence to the outcome. When you see this curve, and you see survival life expectancy in Turkey around about 72 years in average, and you see in Norway it's 81 a year. That means there's an influence of outcome and treatment in total, not only in the cancer but also other illnesses in treatment. You see that there's a relationship, a clear relationship between the spending of money and the outcome of and survival rate of patients. Only US is driving out of the scene, and that everybody knows because of that. It's only the mostly the private sector, and the costs companies can do in US are tremendously higher than in the whole world. What is necessary to go further in this to have a better outcome? So I think the patient centricity is one of the main issues. The multi-professional and multidisciplinary team approach is one of these issues. The predefined coordination in the total care process is one of them. The clearly defined roles and responsibilities, and also the use of adequate IT systems as well, when you look at the use of similar guidelines and protocols. And that's why the European Cancer Organization, which I have been the pleasure to be 8 years in the board of directors, has developed the essential requirements for quality cancer care. And this vision is to bring the others into discussion, to consolidate and grow the consensus. And this I want to show you in some examples. Probably we have published as well on all our homepages. All societies have been integrated in this procedure. And this is an example of the colorectal cancer essential requirements paper, where the example of oncology pharmacy is described as well. When you look for the essential requirements, what is a request is done for oncology pharmacists, what kind of issues they have to deliver. And what's coming soon now, it's about breast cancer, prostate cancer, and pancreatic cancer as well. And the role of community pharmacists in quality cancer care was published last month. So you see the ECHO essential requirements for primary care is one of the issues where it's shown that not only high, what should I say, comprehensive cancer centers are necessary for the treatment, the whole procedure in which from diagnosis to palliative care treatment is in the point of view. And you see here, when you see this picture, it shows you that as well, patients come to hospitals, go to the treatment, and will be, after some times of treatment, will be discharged. But you see as well, this is part of life. The patient in the middle, what is our goal? What is the point we're turning around? He has an average life, what I've shown you before, about different schedules, but between 72 to 85 years. But the patient himself, in this whole life, he will be in a hospital. In an average view, we have done it for Europe, Western Europe, it's around about 4 months in this whole total life. So what does it mean? It means that beside the hard treatments in hospitals, they have to survive without hospitals, without all of us, but they have to survive with the support of the community pharmacists, community doctors. And that's why it's very necessary to have a good exchange about the standards and quality behavior between all of us. I want to show you this picture. This picture shows you a summarizing of a presentation what was looking for the multidisciplinary approach to non-communicable disease. And this means these are diseases what are causing changes when we want to fight against inequalities, and is also causing a better treatment and not more treatment. And that's why I think we did a lot of work to make clear what we are thinking about in building standards before we go to specialization and accreditation. And the standard book, the quality standard, can be read also in the language of Ukrainian language. It can be downloaded on our homepage. It's be translated by our friends and colleagues, and this is available in 29 countries in the world. You see this standard is showing up what is the request we are offering to a treatment, and every country has to look to find the right answers. That's why we say think global and act local, and that's necessary to find under the circumstances of healthcare system, governmental circumstances, and other issues to find the right way. But in this standard, we have included then chapters. They are looking for the cytotoxic production, how to do it the best, what is necessary to be able to deliver the drugs in the right concentration to the ward and to the patient preparation. And by this, I show you a picture where we came from. It's 87 in my hospital in Hamburg, nearby Hamburg. This is a nurse who's preparing cytotoxic drugs on the ward. The other nurse is running around the desk, and you see there's no safety for those who are handling these circumstances as well for the patient, that the what should I say, the sterility for this infusion cannot be given in a safe way. That's why we have asked for laminar air hoods, which shows that you're working safe for the drug as well, safe for the worker who is working under the circumstance as well. We're talking about the collaboration for all persons who are providing oncology therapy. If as the doctors as well, the nurses are introduced. We are supporting then discussion what can be done by extravasation that can be delivered accidentally, the right things to support the treatment. As well, we are showing that the electronic devices are helpful in prescribing and delivering the production of cytotoxic drugs. What pharmacists had to learn is that there's a difference between creatinine clearance and serum creatinine, and that's why the calculation of the prescribed drugs is very important, because as patients are getting older, and we know that in our hemisphere, 66% of cancer is occurring to patients who are men or women or men who are over 66 years. So that means that at that stage, and you see here at that stage when the creatinine clearance is decreasing a lot for patients, the accumulation of drugs can occur in a high way. That's why the age and creatinine clearance plays an emergent role in prescribing the right drug in the right time. Pharmaceutical care is that what we have to deliver after the treatment, what is hardly be done in IV service if it's in hospital or ambulatory care. But we know that the results of the treatment are getting better. The outcome is getting better. The surviving rate is growing, and therefore we are producing by this treatment not only patients who have been won the battle against the cancer for years, but they are also in a status of chronically diseased person. So they have skin problems, they have pain problems and other issues. And with this, they come to pharmacists and to discuss with the pharmacists about that, what can be done to deliver them with the issues what are fighting against side effects. As well, we know that, and since 20 years we are fighting for that, to recognize that the status, that the personal status of a human being makes an impact. You see here this research what has been done and published several years ago is that after the first cycles of identical 5-FU dosage, based and calculated on that, what I have explained before on body surface, shows that there is a different plasma concentration of 5-FU at this first cycle, and we have asked strongly to make sure that the research of the status, the patient status, is important for the calculation as well, besides the body surface concentration, body surface calculation act. And therefore now the European Medical Association, EMA, has decided to ask the prescribing doctors to have a relationship to the enzyme status of patient. And based on this, the 5-FU dosage has to interpolate it, to do it in the right way for the patient and not to harm him with the side effects. Based on this, the specialization is occurring when you have a base where you can work on, when you have a prescribed base like quality standards, then you can say how we can go ahead with specialization. So Germany and US did it a long time. So in Germany, probably 540 pharmacists have been running through a process of specialization. This was 100 hours, 200 practical preparation and case reports. But we did it also as ESOP on the European level, also for those countries who are not able, with a high amount of pharmacists in their country, are not a high amount of money, to offer a similar education for all of us in Europe. And therefore we started in the 2007 with the so-named master classes based on this. And you see that the number was growing in this time, what is related to the basic masterclass, but immediate masterclass as well, advanced masterclass, what is including much more clinical demands, was occurring in this time. So several countries have made then certificates on that. But now we have developed the European specialization program in oncology pharmacy. That means you have 100 hours education program through the academy, and this is divided in 4 parts. One is 25 hours oncology practice, basically practice. Then the clinical, the oncology pharmacy practice, what is showing how to include then the multi-professional relationship. Then the biggest part is the clinical oncology part, to understand the different treatments and different entities, and to have the right pharmaceutical answer and support in this. And finally, we have added then 25 hours about biologics, what is the future issue, and a lot of what should I say, misunderstanding is there about the use and the production of them, and as well you could save with them money. Therefore, it's necessary to know about it. And when I show you the fourth part of it, you see then the titles of the lectures, and these lectures are regarding then the protein and molecular antibody structure, the medical medicine, the current practice and regulations, the biosimilars from development to the clinics as well. You see then the concerns regarding the biosimilars and how to work with them. The total program of 100 hours is in this technical structure can be seen. 50% is international e-learning program, what can be done by everybody at home, and will be delivered, and after answering questions, getting a certificate for this and the points for this, each hour for 1 point. And then you have national trainings, where we have the trainer program, where we're educating our colleagues to be able to make these lectures for a lot of their people in their country as well. We have then an international workshop. What is the name? EXCOP is excellent course of oncology pharmacy, delivered each year. Not this year because of COVID, but for sure in January we will have the next one. So, and when we come to the certification, and we see it's necessary to see that there's a friendly collaboration between those who are delivering drugs and those who have worked with drugs. And therefore we are asking everybody for this, the similar logo, the yellow hand, what says that there's high potential medicine and they should handle with care. So also when it's drugs are delivered to stock or delivered to pharmacy or the hospital, with a yellow hand, it shows that this should not be touched by somebody who's not educated in pharmacy, because those people who can be open the box, can look if something has been crashed and destroyed, and can make sure that nobody gets in contamination by these things. As well, when we are delivering that from pharmacy to the ward, we can put this hand on it, and everybody knows this has to be handled with care. It's one of our important points we are asking for to be installed in each country, in each area, and it can be downloaded for free from the homepage of our society, and for sure it's in every country language in use. So coming to the end, I would summarize that for patient to receive quality cancer care, pharmacist involvement is required. And this is different in different countries, but we are delivering to help to install a good involvement of pharmacists in this way, because more and more the complexity is growing in the treatment options related to specialization across healthcare professions, and that means the need of pharmacists is growing. And cancer becomes a long-term condition for many, and more treatment options become available in the community setting. An increased emphasis is being placed on not only the role of pharmacists within specialist cancer centers, but also technology is necessary to make sure that we can develop new options for the medical and therapeutical team together, what was not unthinkable only 20 years ago. To the end, I hope I have shown you that the opportunity for the good collaboration with the vision to help cancer patients the best, and I would like to invite you to take part scientifically in our conference, what we have postponed from this year to the next year to Malta. But we are starting to call for abstracts and presentations. Would be happy also to welcome representatives and delegates from your country too. I say thank you a lot and wish you a pleasant and successful meeting. Goodbye.